You deserve community. I often say that community is crucial currency, okay? I'm talking about the big bucks. Community is the thing that allows you to tap into a deeper space and sense of yourself. It allows you to tap into empathy like no other. It allows you to feel loved and supported in those big dreams that you have. You need the community to actually execute it, whether you're serving that community or they're serving you in the idea. You need it. Hey, it's your girl EK, Erica Knox, and we are back with episode 2 of Two Things Can Be True, okay? Now this week we are talking all about me, myself, and I, that's all I got in the end. You thoughts, because we are going to get into independence and interdependence. Trust me, you don't want to miss this episode. Stick around. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the blessing and the burden of being, a me, myself, and I kind of person, but also craving community. Okay, put a finger down if you grew up hearing, you don't need no friends, because you often crave community, but often were met with betrayal, lack of reciprocity, and honestly, a lack of trust. I think when my sister was telling me that advice that you don't need no friends, it was because I had allowed friends and community to become the only thing that was able to validate me. But you crave community because you deserve it and you need it. So when it comes to the me, myself, and I, look, I've got that down packed. I know how to be in solitude. I know how to crave and appreciate and cherish my own company. Child, I have the time of my life. I also know what it looks like to serve my season and to listen to my voice so intuitively. I also know what it looks like to get down with the self-care, okay? So when we talk about independence, it is something that is inherent to me. I love it. I think you should always trust your voice and trust your intuition and trust what you have to say is final, especially when it comes to boundaries, especially when it comes to your standards. It's a beautiful thing to create a home within yourself where you feel safe and nurtured and loved. But on the same token, some of us take it a little too far. Like, come on, strong friend. We don't have to be there for everyone to the point where we are not there for ourselves. Know that it's powerful for you to be independent. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But I think it's really important to recognize when your independence becomes isolation masked as independence. When it becomes something where you're too afraid to open up, you're too afraid to trust anyone, you're too afraid to believe that you deserve community, and so then you resort to isolation, which is masked independence. When I think about that, I think about every time that I have said, oh, I can do this by myself, because I knew that if I had to depend on someone and they let me down, I would be disappointed. Or because I was afraid that someone would let me down or someone would be untrustworthy. But that shouldn't be your first resort. Now, I know that we all have not had the most beautiful experiences with friendship and relationships, but that doesn't mean that you have to continue to buy into that narrative. You deserve community. I often say that community is crucial currency, okay? I'm talking about the big bucks. Community is the thing that allows you to tap into a deeper space and sense of yourself. It allows you to tap into empathy like no other. It allows you to feel loved and supported in those big dreams that you have. You need the community to actually execute it, whether you're serving that community or they're serving you in the idea. You need it. And I know what it feels like to say that I can do this by myself because I'm afraid to open up to anyone, because I'm afraid to trust that someone will actually be who they say they are. But today I want to just challenge you to take a different approach and accept a new narrative. There is a whole world out there waiting to support you, waiting for the thing that you have inside of you. There is a whole community that was literally created when God created the earth, okay, because if we want to take it there, when he created the earth, he created you with a purpose and people who were there as the missing puzzle piece to that purpose. Yeah, that is community. That's why it's currency. That's why it's so important. And so, as independent as you may be in your solitude, in your self-care, in your sacred season, often it is important to switch gears to recognize when you need community to go farther. And that is my strongest power. I think about every time that I was in my masked independence, isolation season, when I really, really needed someone, but I was just too afraid to ask them for help. because I'm used to being that strong friend. Having your own back is all good and dandy until it backfires, until you start to breed so much pride, so much ego, and so much shame before your own eyes. The pride that says that I don't need anyone to do this thing called life. I can't let anyone in. I won't trust anyone. There is no one on this earth that can help me bring the God vision to life. That kind of pride. And then there's the guilt that you have done things, you have made mistakes, and you are too afraid to even resonate and share with someone else. Too afraid to be vulnerable because you're afraid of being judged. Too afraid to open up and extend that olive branch to someone who may feel seen because they too have experienced that thing in the dark. It's really, really important to recognize what fosters and what seed you're planting in that independence. Whether you're doing it to serve yourself in that season, which is necessary, or when you're protecting yourself from community and all that it comes with. When I think about even shame, there's so many skeletons in our closet that could come to life if we would just share it with someone in community. If we would just open up about that thing and truly tell them what happened and tell them what scar it left, I'm sure there are people who can resonate with that scar. And so I just want to challenge you today that if you are that independent, strong friend, you better go off. But in the same note, open yourself up to community. Open yourself up to love. It becomes a catalyst for all of our journeys when we just allow ourselves to let people in. When I think about the burden of independence, it leads me to my own personal journey of feeling like a burden. Oftentimes wanting to just take care of everything and be that strong friend because I don't want to be a burden to anyone, because I simply don't want to cause any trouble or interference or allow people to feel like what I have to do or what I need is over their needs, because I've often shrunk my needs for theirs. But it's really important to understand that you deserve support. Why have you silenced your craving for community because you feel like you're a burden? What was that moment like when you felt like you were such a burden that you couldn't crave, that you couldn't even go as far to want or seek help or seek people along the journey who could see you, appreciate you, and cherish you? There were so many parts of my journey where I was like, I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to be too much of a burden. Even growing up and taking care of ourselves as children, we don't understand how much that seeks into our strong friend personality. But it's something to assess today, and it's something to just take a step back and say, you know what? What is that thing that made me feel like such a burden, that made me feel so undeserving of support, love, and cherishing? Now that we've taken a second to think about that, I want to welcome you into the world that is ready to welcome you into community. When I think about community and I think about the love that is found within community and the thoughtfulness and the support, it makes me think about that friend who is there for you during your darkest season. It makes me think about the mentor to mentee relationship is symbiotic. It simply cannot happen one without the other. You cannot have that difficult season where you're crying out for help without the friend who decides to push everything to the side and support you. You cannot have that mentee-mentor relationship without the mentor finding the value in pouring into someone else and the mentee finding the humbleness to say, I need something on my journey. There's such beauty when we're able to exchange our humility for our selflessness in those relationships. It's so beautiful for me to see when my friend silences her worries to be there for me and I'm able to do the same thing in exchange. There's something so beautiful about that. And I want to challenge you to believe that you deserve it. You won't be let down. And if you are capable of picking yourself back up. I think oftentimes the thing that stops us from even going into community is trust. But not just trust in the other person, trust in yourself. I've realized that my fear is often in not trusting myself enough to feel like I want to be in community and ask for help and be around people that I know have good intentions for me. Because if they disappoint me or if they betray me, I don't trust that I will be able to pick myself back up and live a fruitful, beautiful life thereafter. So I want you to assess that it's not that you have trust issues with everybody else. Maybe you just don't trust that you're able to pick yourself back up if something does meet you head on. As beautiful as it is to be independent, it also leads way for you to be guarded, to be isolated. And that's where we toggle the line of two things can be true, because you can be independent as ever. Okay, Beyonce said me, myself, and I. But what she was really craving in that song was community. She was craving love. She wished that she could trust the person on the other side of that song, and therefore she resorted to choose herself. Sometimes we have to choose ourselves. But sometimes you have to actively choose community and be vulnerable enough to say, you know, if I do get hurt, I'll pick myself up and choose to believe again. You can allow that narrative to remain that you can't trust anybody and I can never make friends and that these people don't support me. Or you can say this person met me in a season where they weren't able to reciprocate what I was giving, but that doesn't mean that's what I deserve. And so therefore, I'm going to go get what I deserve. That is the journey of life. Not giving up at the first sight of someone letting you down, because how many times have we let somebody down? It's the cycle of forgiveness. It's the cycle of reframing your mind and trying that thing again, of seeing it with a fresh lens, fresh belief, fresh revelation that I'm just going to go ahead and put myself out there again. I think it's worth it. As I sit here in this season of my life, as many times as I feel like I've let myself down in community, where I've let my guard down and things and people have hurt me, and then also where I've let my guard down and it's gone beautifully, I have to choose to see and lean into that side where I've let my guard down and someone held my heart like it was the most precious thing ever, where they made me feel so seen and so loved and like I wasn't crazy when I was going through that thing. Two things can be true. I can either be in community and craving it immensely and choose to trust myself in that person, or you can live in masked isolation, masked independence that stops you from feeling the freedom and the love that comes with community because you're afraid to even let anyone try. You can trust yourself and you can trust them. I want to remind you that you shouldn't be self-sabotaging your ability to be loved, your ability to be cherished and supported. Be anchored enough so that you can welcome and appreciate all that the world has to offer you. There are people literally assigned to your vision. There's a team out there waiting to support you. There's a team out there waiting to fulfill the vision that God has given you. But because you're self-sabotaging, you're not able to let them in. You're not able to bring that vision to life as vast as it can be and impacting all those people because you're afraid to let people in again. Let people in again and trust that because you're anchored, whatever they do will only sway you. It won't uproot you. It'll just sway you. So allow yourself to go through the swaying, because what is an anchor without the sway of the boat actually moving toward the next direction? Beautiful opportunities come when you allow them to come, when your hands are open. And remember that two things can be true, always.